Hello everyone, welcome to Skills Build Training YouTube channel. Myself Mohammad Zubair, and this channel is all about showing you how to become a highly paid IT pro really fast. So the topic of today's video is switching from Windows to Linux, 15 things you must know. So without any further ado, let's get started. Well, there are several things which are different in Linux distribution and in Windows 11. So you must have an idea that what you are going to get if you are switching from Windows 11 to any Linux distribution. So I will talk about different 15 things which you must consider. There are some good things and there are some bad things in terms of both type of operating system. So the first one is Linux can be used for free. Obviously, the Linux operating system or the Linux distributions are free to use. You can download any Linux distribution and you will not have to pay anything. There are different Linux distributions like we have Ubuntu, we have Manjaro, we have Fedora, we have Linux Mint, we have Kali Linux, and we have several other Linux distribution. And now we get specialized Linux distribution for specialized work. Means there are some Linux distribution which are made for the gaming. So if you are into gaming, you should download that particular Linux distribution. And obviously that one is also free. So that was the first point. Number two, lot of free apps. Obviously, when you use Linux distribution, you get Software Center, Software Repository, or you can say the Application Center. And in that, you get a lot of free applications and a lot of free softwares. If you do not get anything in this repository, you can download and you can add that from the terminal as well. So that is a really good thing that you get a lot of free applications in Linux distribution. That is not the case with Windows, because in Windows you have to pay for a lot of applications and a lot of, or you can say for the most of the software. Yes, there are patches and there are some hacks available which you can use them for free, but officially there are not a lot of applications and software which you can use for free in Windows 11. So this is a really good thing and a really good point in Linux distribution. Number third, it is pretty similar to the second one, and that one is Application Center. As you can see on your screen, this is a software repository, or you can say the Application Center. This repository in every Linux distribution, and that will be customized and specialized for that particular Linux distribution. At the moment, I'm using Zorin OS, and you can see here I have these number, or you can say I have these applications and software available in this Application Center. If you go down, you will see category here. In these categories, you can find different types of softwares. For example, if you want to download a software or an application related to audio and video, you just have to go to that particular category and you can download that one for free. So it is really simple and really easy to use. Number four, centralization. Well, we get a lot of centralization in Windows 11. It means Windows is the only authority, or you can say the Microsoft is the only authority who decides and who manages everything. Means if Windows decide to stop the support for any operating system, let's say Windows 10, they will stop it immediately. There is no other body who can stop them or who can suggest them anything. For example, Microsoft stopped the support for Windows 7, but this is not the case with Linux distribution. If Linux stops a support for a particular thing, people can make or people can develop the alternative for that particular thing. And we have an example in the shape of CentOS. When CentOS stopped the support for Red Hat, but community immediately created an alternative as Rocky Linux. So this is a really good thing in terms of Linux distribution, that we have no centralization in Linux distribution. Number five, emphasis on privacy. Well, Linux promises to have your privacy. Means it doesn't share your data. In Windows 11, this feature is not available. Even if you do not want your data to be shared, you cannot stop that. When Windows 10 was released, there was a lot of noise and there was a lot of fuss about it. And that was Windows 10 was using the people's data. When people talked about it, Microsoft claimed that it is using that data for only the better performance and better user experience for the user. But still, a lot of people were not happy. This is not the case with Linux. Yes, there was one time issue when Ubuntu shared the data of user with Amazon, but there is an option with which you can disable that feature. So it means your data and your privacy is lot more secured in Linux distribution. Number 6, support for old equipments. Well, Linux distribution is available for almost every kind of machine, or you can say the laptop. If you have an older laptop, you can find a particular Linux distribution which will run on that particular machine. But that is not the case with Windows 11. Even there was an issue when Windows 11 release was announced, and Microsoft announced that Windows 11 will only be supported for those machines which have the compatibility for TPM 2.0. It means any laptop or any machine or any computer which doesn't have TPM 2.0, Windows 11 will not be installed on that particular machine. But this is not the case with Linux distribution. So it shows that Linux supports almost every kind of equipment out there. Number 7, less virus and harmful program. Well, in Linux distribution, we get very less number of software because as per the latest data, only 2.6 of the market value of user uses the Linux distribution. It means it also gets the less attention of the hackers and malware developers, and eventually Linux gets a very less number of viruses. Even if gets some viruses, you still do not have to install any antivirus because the architecture of Linux is designed in such a way that it tackles with the viruses in a very effective way. But on the other hand, if you are using Windows 11, Windows capture almost 73% of the market of users. Because of that, a lot of hackers and a lot of malware developers and a lot of malicious program developers have the attention of this huge number of people. And because of that, Windows get a lot of viruses and a lot of attacks. Other than that, the architecture of Windows is not that supported, or you can say is not that sophisticated to fight against the malware. Yes, Windows has improved a lot of things in terms of firewall and Windows Defender, but still, if we talk about or if we compare it against the Linux distribution, it still lags behind. Number 8, more control over the system. Well, obviously, you get more control in Linux distribution as it allows you to do a lot of customization as per your liking and as per your need. And as I have mentioned earlier, that you can download a particular Linux distribution for specialized use. Mean if you want to go for gaming, you can download a particular Linux distribution which is made solely for gaming purpose. But this is not the case with Windows 11. It is the only one operating system and you have to use it for almost everything. And it also doesn't allow you to have more control or any control over the system. Yes, you can do some tweaks and you can do some changes with respect to user interface and some other things. But if you talk about the control over the system, Linux distribution is way ahead than Windows 11. Number 9, stability. Well, obviously, Linux distributions are more stable than Windows 11 because if you get anything in your Linux distribution wrong, you can solve it immediately and nothing will break in your Linux distribution until you break it or it gets broken unintentionally. But in Windows 11 or in any Microsoft operating system, as soon as it gets older, it starts to perform slowly and it starts to lag behind in terms of performance. So we can say that Linux distributions are more stable as compared to Windows 11. Number 10, open source. Well, we get almost everything as open source in Linux distribution. Means the code of the programs and the codes of the operating system is publicly available to the public, or you can say to the community. Means You can change it as per your own liking and as per your needs. But this is not the case with the Windows 11. Everything is only available to the Microsoft, means they are the only one who can change, edit, or can add anything in the operating system. But this is not the case with Linux distribution because it is open source, and that is why a lot of people opt for open source applications and software which is available in Linux distribution. Number 11, ease of use. Well, this is one point where Windows 11 is way ahead than Linux distribution because Windows 11 is really easy to use and it offers a lot of community support as well. Because as I have mentioned earlier that 73% of people in the market uses the Windows, that is why we get a lot of support for Windows. And other than that, the interface of Windows is self-explanatory and really easy to use. And that is why a lot of people go for Windows, or you can say go for Microsoft operating system only for that purpose. On the other hand, as we have a lot of Linux distribution, we have different interfaces as well. So you will get different interface with Manjaro, you will have different interface with Ubuntu, and as you can see, you have Zorin OS in front of you. It has different interface. So in terms of user interface or ease of use, Windows 11 is way ahead than Linux distribution. Number 12, release type. Well, in Linux, we have two types of release cycles. First one is rolling release and the second one is a long-term release cycle. In long-term release cycle, we get the system for almost 5 years, and in rolling release, we get the updates and patches after some interval of time. But that is not the case with Windows 11 because if you know, Windows 10 was released in 2015 and it will have the support from the Microsoft till 2025. So it means we have Windows 10 available for almost 10 years. That is not the case with Linux distribution. We get the support for maximum of 5 years, and after that we have to update and we have to use the latest version. Number 13, gaming. Well, this is one another area where Windows 11 is way ahead than Linux distribution. In Windows 11, we have the Xbox compatibility, and with the help of that, we can play a lot of games and we can install the Steam as well. And because of that, we can play more number of games than the Linux distribution. Yes, we can install Steam engine in Linux distribution, but there are only 14% of games which are compatible on Steam for Linux distribution. So if you are a gamer and if you are planning for gaming, so you must stay with the Windows 11. Yes, there are few Linux distributions available for gaming, but still they are no match to Windows 11. Number 14, command line. Well, in Linux distribution, you get terminal, and with the help of that, it offers you a lot of customization and it offers you a lot of powers. And this only one feature is a reason for a lot of people to switch to Linux distribution from other operating system, because it offers you a lot of flexibility and a lot of customization to use Linux distribution. And not only that, it is a really powerful tool as you can perform your task through the command lines, and it also saves you a lot of time. Number 15, the last one is community support. Well, as we have different Linux distribution available out there in the market, so with respect to that, we have different communities. But if we talk about the Windows, we have more community support available for Windows than the Linux distribution. There are some Linux distributions like Ubuntu. It is the most used Linux distribution out there, and it has the largest, or you can say it has the highest number of users in its community. But there are some Linux distribution which is not as much popular or which is not as much prominent than Ubuntu, and because of that it doesn't get a lot of community support. So overall, Windows 11 have more community support than the Linux distribution. So we can say that in terms of community support, Windows 11 is way ahead than Linux distribution. So these were 15 of the things which you should keep in mind before jumping to Linux distribution from Windows 11. So I hope now This video will help you to decide whether you want to go for Linux distributions or not. And I hope now you must have liked this video. And if that is the case, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon along with it. If you have anything to ask, please leave a comment below. We will get back to you as soon as possible. Till the next video, take care.